Welcome everyone, this is your host Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. First of all, this channel is proudly sponsored by the Era Crueltide Pocket Rulebook Kickstarter. This is a tabletop RPG featuring an unusual situation. Santa Claus has been captured, so it's up to you, as pretty much any sort of fantasy creature, be it a human with incredible holiday powers, one of Santa's helpers, perhaps an elf, maybe a talking reindeer, perhaps a gingerbread man cookie golem. You can be pretty much anything that you can think of. You need to rescue Santa Claus and perhaps restore the holiday cheer. You will find a link to the Kickstarter and its stretch goals, of course, in the description and in the pinned comment. This channel is also proudly sponsored by Dead Studios, the publishers and developers of Dames of Asstoria, a tabletop role-playing game where you play as monster girls experiencing high adventure in a world that doesn't fully accept them. They have recently released Daughters of Lamb. This is a pay what you want tabletop RPG where you get to play as cybernetic nuns with guns, looking for the missing pieces of their AI god. You will find it in their website. The link will be in the description and in the pinned comment. This channel is also proudly sponsored by the Red Room Publishing. Please check out their store for exclusive tabletop RPG products and check out their free tabletop RPG, the Red Roleplaying Game. This is a generic system that will allow you to handle any sort of theme, flavor, genre, setting that you can imagine. You will find it in their website. The link will be in the description and in the pinned comment as well. A moment please while I maximize myself. Today I am continuing my solo tutorial campaign featuring the solo journaling game Entity. If you haven't seen the other parts of this solo journaling journey, please check out the playlist in the description below. For those of you that do not know, you play as a synthetic astronaut. You are the sole survivor, to put it in a way, of an expedition into an unknown world. So you're trying to decipher the mysteries of this weird planet and a pyramid that is quite esoteric, quite unusual compared to the rest of the world. These PDFs, they don't have bookmarks, no hyperlinks. So I'm going to try my best to run through them as smoothly as possible, but yeah, if you see me delaying a bit, it's because the document doesn't have bookmarks and no hyperlinks. For a solo document, you need that. That is mandatory. I'm going to try to make it as clear as possible when I am coming up with the interpretation of the results, as well as when I am playing the role of the synthetic astronaut. And so it begins. Day 29, log, mission, establish a data compression center. It took me an entire day using my 3D printer to establish a proper gravity manipulation research facility, but now my progress has been hastened because of that. Rolling to identify location. So during this day, I decided to proceed with my journey, wandering into an inhospitable stretch of land, heavily soaked in radiation. The entire landscape was painted in unnatural colors because of it. I rolled to determine the structure. No structure. I rolled to determine what can be seen in the sky and distance. It was just above me that crimson tones began manifesting across the sky, an obvious result from iron oxide particles. I roll to determine the next feature. In the distance, I could clearly see a chain of volcanic eruptions. I roll to determine the alien life form. Moving about the area, I also spotted a fungus-like creature. The myceloid had elongated limbs, 4 in total, but it was experiencing a temporal replay as the creature suddenly blinked into the present and into the past constantly, also providing some glimpses of its future actions in an almost ethereal way. Judging by the patterns, it was attempting to mimic other organisms nearby. I roll to determine. Trouble event. Challenge. I roll to determine the challenge. Deciding to avoid a confrontation with the organism, I decided to flank the entire zone, stumbling upon a river of molten metallic substances, completely blocking my path. I then proceeded to determine the best course of action. Using my navigation potential to its maximum output, I analyzed the area that would provide the best chance at jumping across the river and decided to take a leap. I roll to determine success. Just about to make the jump, I realized that I would need to spend extra energy to make it across with a powerful leap. I use the integrated multi-tool to reroll one of the dice. And I succeeded making it across without Arm. I roll to determine the new location. It was just beyond the river. That I came upon the half-buried remnants of an alien spacecraft. To put it in a poetic way, a haunting testament to a long-forgotten catastrophe. I roll to determine structure. I roll to determine the characteristics of the structure. As I proceeded into the object and analyzing various chemicals and broken tools scattered across, I determined that this location was used as a temporary laboratory to carry out many scientific experiments. I roll to determine what can be seen in the distance. It was from inside this structure that I also saw a massive ancient alien ruin rising above the fog within walking distance. But nearby, I also saw, rolling to determine, alien life form. A fish-like creature swimming in midair. I roll to determine the rest of the characteristics. It had a fiery form, making it difficult to tell if it actually had a physical presence. Leaving behind its streaks raised in the air, dimensional rifts that opened up as wide as the size of a human being, making me wary of the things that could come out of such rifts. Based on the patterns of this strange organism, my best guess was that it acted as a trapper would, perhaps employing the holes the dimensional rifts left behind as nets to capture prey. Perhaps those holes were also employed to swallow organisms directly into its belly through a space and time distortion. I roll to determine. Location encounter. My reverie admiring the organism did not last long. I rolled to determine the challenge. As a sudden gravity vortex was pulling me into the center of the structure, I could only guess as to what would occur once I was pulled into its center. I quickly proceeded to take action in order to preserve my physical integrity. Opting once more to rely on my navigation capabilities to see the best route to avoid being sucked in, running, employing all of my resources, all of the energy reserves. I roll to determine success. With quick actions, despite almost suffering severe strain on my legs, I managed to pull away and run behind the wall where the pull was at its weakest and managed to escape safely. I then proceeded to analyze what sort of actions I could take in order to survive the rest of the journey. Realizing that my energy reserves were low, I decided to search around the ship between the ruin and the present structure while avoiding the fish-like organism. I roll to determine success. The rewards were almost insignificant, as very little energy was obtained a single unit. I quickly realized my situation was growing desperate. And this concludes this part of the session of the campaign. Unlike the other one, this session was not very profitable for my synthetic astronaut. I couldn't obtain any data, no resources. I had to spend energy in order to survive one of the challenges. Oh, you have to deal with these things because there is a lot of randomness. Sometimes you cannot guess the sorts of challenges that you can encounter. If it were up to me, I would take on only challenges related to robotics and survival. But no, sometimes you cannot. At least I didn't take damage. Well, sometimes you win, sometimes. Well, I didn't lose, but I didn't make too much progress either. Thank you for watching this part of the solo journaling tutorial campaign. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, consider joining as a member using the super thanks button. Like, oh, I already said that. Take a look at the information in the description and in the pinned comment. This has been your host, Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master, and remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.